Alright, ladies and gents, and welcome back to Dragon Age Inquisitions, and we're going to have a chat with Cullen.
Yes?
Okay, so... Why... There we go, that's what I was waiting for. Are you with anyone? No. Okay, let's investigate. Tell me about the Templar's life.
I'd like to know more about the Templars.
If you need insight into what the Order is doing now, I'm afraid I can't offer more than you already know. Anything else, I will answer as best I can.
Why did you join the Order?
I could think of no better calling than to protect those in need. I used to beg the Templars at our local chantry to teach me. At first, they merely humored me. I must have shown promise, or at least a willingness to learn. The Knight Captain spoke to my parents on my behalf. They agreed to send me for training. I was 13 when I left home.
13? That's still so young.
I wasn't the youngest there. Some children are promised to the Order as infancy. Still, I didn't take on full responsibilities until I was 18. The Order sees you trained and educated first.
What about your family? Did you miss them?
Of course, but there were many my age who felt the same. We learned to look out for one another.
Do the Templars do anything besides hunt mages?
Templars protect against the dangers of magic. Before the Order left the Chantry, that meant serving in a circle. They were also tasked with tracking apostates, or fighting demons inevitably summoned by the weak or malicious.
What do you think of mages? Are they all a threat?
I've seen the suffering magic can inflict. I've treated mages with distrust because of it, at times without cause. That was unworthy of me. I will try not to do so here. Not that I want mages moving through our base completely unchecked. We need safeguards in place to protect people, including mages, from possession of the beast.
You've lived in the Circle. What was a typical day for a Templar there?
Typical. The last time I was in a circle was right before it fell apart. Nothing was typical.
Before that day?
Certain rituals require a full guard. A mage's howling, for instance. I've attended a few. Most of the time you merely maintain a presence, on patrol or in the circle, ready to respond if needed. Mages pretend to ignore that presence, but they're watching you just as closely.
Templars and mages never speak to each other.
Some do, but Templars are supposed to maintain a certain distance from their charges. If a mage is possessed or uses blood magic, you must act quickly, without hesitation. Your judgment cannot be clouded. And of course, ignoring one another does nothing to foster understanding.
What does Templar training involve?
There is weapon and combat training. Even without their abilities, Templars are among the best warriors in Thedas. Initiates must also memorize portions of the Chant of Light, study history, and improve their mental focus.
Do you enjoy your training?
Learn everything. If I was giving my life to this, I would be the best Templar I could.
You were a model student.
I wanted to be. I wasn't always successful. Watching a candle burn down while reciting the chant of transfigurations wasn't the most exciting task. I admit, my mind sometimes wandered.
The Templars take vows. I swear to the Maker to watch all the mages, that sort of thing.
There's a vigil first. You're meant to be at peace during that time, but your life is about to change. When it's over, you give yourself to a life of service. That's when you're given a filter. Your first draft of Lyrium and its power. As Templars, we are not to seek wealth or acknowledgement. Our lives belong to the Maker and the path we have chosen.
It's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
I'm sure you have other matters to attend.
Not quite yet.
Yes?
I should get to know you better. We're working together after all.
What would you like to know?
All right. Where are you from?
How to act for Eldon. I'd like to take full responsibility for Lady Akka.
I grew up in Ferelden near home. I was transferred to Kirkwall shortly after the Blight. This is the first I've returned in almost 10 years.
You haven't seen Ferelden in 10 years. Are you glad to be back?
I was not sorry to leave at the time. I did not expect to return. Now, between the Divine's murder and the breach, I've arrived to find nothing but chaos.
You were in Ferelden during the Blight. Did you fight Darkspawn?
No. I was stationed in Ferelden's Circle Tower. The Circle had troubles of its own. I remained there during the Blight.
What happened at the Circle Tower?
You who survived the Blight have fond memories of that time. I would prefer not to speak of it.
What was Kirkwall like?
While I was there, Canary occupied and then attacked the city. The Viscount's murder caused political unrest. Relations between mages and Templars fell apart. An apostate blew up the Chantry, and the Knight Commander went mad. Other than that, it was fine.
Varric's from Kirkwall. Did you two know each other?
I knew he was friends with the champion of Kirkwall, but little else. We've spoken more since I joined the Inquisition, largely at Varric's insistence. Apparently, I spend too much time with a serious expression on my face, and it's bad for my health.
I'll let you return to your work.
Should you require anything, I'll be here.
Right, so I think that's all we can find out from Actually, let's see if we can find out anything else. Sound a little bit too closer.
Why would Templars break away from the Chantry?
The Order believes the Chantry no longer supports their efforts. Not to the extent they should.
What do you think of the people you work with?
What do you mean?
What do you think of our ambassador?
We have little in common. How she delights in meeting with nobles all day is beyond me. But I enjoy working with her.
How do you like working with Leliana?
The Inquisition would not exist without her. I may not always agree with her methods, but she's more passionate about our cause than anyone. Cassandra may have declared the Inquisition publicly. Leliana is just as responsible for its formation.
Are you satisfied with the Inquisition's forces?
Our numbers are small, but they suit our needs for the time being. Some Templars have joined us instead of following the Order. They've proven invaluable in training new recruits.
I should let you get back to work.
Alright, so we've spoken to Colin. Let's move around the tent and speak to you, Cassandra.
It occurs to me I don't actually know much about you.
Okay.
What do you want to know?
I'm not sure. Where are you from?
I was born in Ostwick, and that's where most of my family is.
The Trevellians, is it not? A large clan with a rather clever coat of arms. Tell me, do you consider the Free Marches your home? Are you eager to go back?
I might, once this is done.
It will not be the same once you do.
Let's talk to her.
I'd like to get to know you better.
You would?
Is that a problem?
Not entirely. I'm just curious as to your motivation.
Speak closer there.
No motivation beyond making things between us less...
Antagonistic?
Exactly.
As you wish. My name is Cassandra Pentecost, daughter of the Royal House of Navarra, 78th in line for the Navarran throne. I joined the Seekers of Truth as a young woman, and was with the Order until they withdrew from the Chantry. I remained as the Divine's right hand, carrying out her order to form the Inquisition. And here we are. That's all there is to know, my lord.
You're a member of Navarra's royal family.
The Pentecosts are a very large clan. Half of Cumberland could say the same.
Really?
No, but it feels that way. I have hundreds of relatives so distant they need charts to prove we're related at all. And they have them. Oh yes. The Pentecosts value their precious blood like it runs with gold.
And you joined the Seekers to get away from that.
It was a life worth getting away from. The Pentecosts are famed for dragon hunting, but few actually pursue the craft. Most are fat and lazy. They pay lip service to the Maker and care only for idle pleasures and past glories. My brother was all that kept me in Navarra. Once he was gone, so was I.
Tell me about your brother.
I would prefer not to speak of Anthony. Another time, perhaps.
You don't seem to like your homeland much.
My family polluted it for me. What little I saw of my homeland was through the bars of a gilded cage. My uncle treated me like a porcelain doll to be placed on a shelf and dusted only when necessary. Thus I did not see Navarra, the real Navarra, until much later. By then I realized I knew it not at all.
Your uncle? What about your parents?
They had the misfortune of taking the wrong side in the second attempt to overthrow King Marcus. The king executed them, but spared my brother and I since we were family, and children at the time. Thus we were raised by my uncle, a mortalitasi who preferred the company of his corpses to the living.
Your uncle was a mortalitasi?
A death mage. He still is. My countrymen do not burn the dead, they bury them in special crypts. The mortalitasi supervise the crypts, like priests. Uncle Vestalis oversees the grand necropolis. Navarrans spend more time honoring dead relatives than they do with living ones. It is odd to be so fascinated with death and its trappings. I will never understand it.
So you were the right hand to the Divine?
To Divine Justinia, yes. And Divine Beatrix before her, in fact. The position is normally reserved for Templars of the Knights Divine, but my circumstances were unusual.
Unusual how?
You don't know the story? Thank the Maker. I will tell you if you wish, but it isn't as exciting as some drum it up to be. The short version is that I once saved the previous Divine's life. My reward was becoming her right hand.
But what does a right hand do exactly?
What is your hand capable of? It gives, it takes, it beckons. It makes a fist. Liliana and I extended the Divine's reach beyond the Grand Cathedral. We went where she could not. After Beatrix, I was tired of the position and wanted to return to the Seekers. But Justinia convinced me to stay. Her vision for the future gave me hope.
You thought she could really change things?
Justinia knew the war was coming long before it began. She tried to avert it, but the forces arrayed against her were too strong. Sometimes you have to break a bone so it can be reset. That's where the Inquisition comes in. It was to be the answer. A means to preserve as well as an agent for change. I only wish she had lived to see it.
So what's the story about you becoming the right hand?
Sweet Andraste, do you really want to hear that? It was, what, 18, 20 years ago? Some still discuss it like it happened yesterday. The tale gets bigger each time it's told. I barely recognize myself within it now.
That's what happens with stories that become legends.
I am not a legend, nor was I then. I was a young woman barely out of training. To hear others tell it, I alone saved divine Beatrix from a horde of dragons sent to assault the Grand Cathedral. Rather impressive for such a young seeker, wouldn't you say?
And the truth is?
I stumbled upon a conspiracy to kill Beatrix. A Templar Knight Commander was at its heart, and there was a dragon battle at the Grand Cathedral, but I had help from loyal mages who rallied to the cause. They freed the dragons from magical control. Without them, the Divine and I would both have died. Yet I became the right hand, and they are forgotten.
What happened to the mages that helped you?
They went back to their circles, with rewards and privileges and most holy gratitude. Many of them died at the conclave.
I think you're a hero, no matter how you downplay it.
Fine. But it was 20 years ago. I will not rest upon my laurels.
I'll let you get back to work.
There we go. So we all know a lot more about Cassandra, actually. This can be like the...
These truths the Maker has revealed to me, as there is but one world.
It's going to be the most talkative yet less talkative on my part videos I've ever done. We go in here. Where's what's his face? Oh, he's there. What's he doing there?
Maker, look at it. So much easier to ignore when it's far away. And to actually walk out of it, to be that close.
It's right there. We could take a trip, if you're that curious.
I'm gonna have to decline. At least until I learn more about it. The breach, the Divine's death, the Wardens. It doesn't make sense. There's so much we don't know.
Your experience with the Wardens will certainly be useful.
Mostly the treaties, I expect. Old parchments you're welcome to. What about you? How do you fit into all this?
I just want to help stop the war. Try to put things back in order.
A worthy goal, one I'm happy to support. For me, I'll be satisfied so long as we find the bastards that killed the Divine. They owe us some answers.
True that. Let's continue talking to Blackwell. Oh, he's off. Where you going, buddy? Hey, where you going? Oh, you're just gonna stand there.
I've heard rumors of abandoned Warden camps all over these parts. If we have time, I'd like to take a look, see if there's anything we can salvage.
Fair enough. Let's talk to him now.
Let's talk about the Grey Wardens. You must know a lot about them.
Ah, the Wardens. I'm afraid we're less exciting than we seem.
The Blight's been over for 10 years. What do Wardens do when the world's not ending?
There is still Darkspawn. Just because we killed so many in Ferelden doesn't mean they're gone. And the world is not so peaceful that there's no use for good men with swords. Sometimes you have to figure out for yourself what the pledge to protect others really means. It's not always about just archdemons and blights.
Where were you during the Blight?
I was in Ferelden, on my own, like always. Quietly killed my fair share of darkspawn too.
You haven't had contact with other wardens for a while. Why were you on your own?
It's what I've always done. Recruitment only requires one man. Besides, I've always been a loner. Works best for everyone that way.
So you have no idea where the rest of the wardens are?
Do you find that odd? The Blight is over. We don't need an organized force. And orders don't change much from day to day. For the last 1,000 years or so, it's been just find darkspawn, kill them, repeat as necessary.
Let's continue this at another time.
As you wish. I'll be here if you need me.
I don't know. Have we
At your
spoken about your
service.
mission? Okay. Ah, there you go.
I want to hear more about you.
Compared to yours, my life will seem dull indeed.
Your name, Blackwall, doesn't sound Orlesian. Marcher, then? Ferelden?
I was from the Free Marchers originally. Markham. That was a long time ago. Another life.
I hear that many wardens were once criminals.
You're right. When you join, your past is forgotten, so let's leave it that way.
What did you do before you became a warden?
I was a soldier, a nobody trained to wield a sword and follow orders. I grew weary of fighting other men's wars.
So you became a warden?
More or less. Becoming a Grey Warden was the first time I felt like I mattered. The life I led before seems hollow in comparison. Perhaps one day it will fade away.
Why did you join the wardens?
Because they remember honor and sacrifice. Words that have little meaning to the rest of us. Because they lay down their lives for those they have sworn to protect. We all need to believe there are such men in the world. I needed to believe I could be one of them.
We can continue this discussion at another time.
Very well. Yes?
What do you think of the Inquisition?
I expected more. More men, better equipment. You may have Andraste's favor, but wars are won by men, soldiers.
Brute force is not always the answer. There are plenty of other paths to victory.
True enough. Still, it never hurts to be prepared. One thing I will say about your men. They're passionate, devoted. You inspire them. Build on that foundation, and you will have an army that makes nations tremble.
What do you think about all this trouble between the Mages and Templars?
Looking at it from where we stand, it seems inevitable. But that could be hindsight. How many of us actually saw it coming? Either way, I don't think the Chantry will ever recover.
What do you think of Haven?
It's a war camp that was once a pilgrim's refuge. That's the state of the world, though, isn't it? Holy ground turned into a battlefield. Pity about that temple. Would have been nice to see it.
What do you think of my advisors?
Leliana seems nice. Also a little frightening, but mostly nice.
You're not saying that for my benefit, are you? Are you so certain you're being watched?
Are you so certain we aren't? I don't want to wake up with a blade in my kidneys if I can help it.
What do you think of my advisors?
Leliana seems nice. Also a little frightening, but mostly nice.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Madame Vivian only allied with the Inquisition because she knows it will bring her power. The most poisonous snakes are often the most beautiful.
What do you think of the Inquisition's cause?
Restoring order is a goal I support wholeheartedly. But that's not the end of it, is it? Not by a half. The Lady Seeker believes we are restoring the Chantry. Others say it needs reform. I don't know where you stand on the matter, and I'll admit I haven't made up my mind either.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Have you seen the stories Varric's been writing? His descriptions of me are colourful, to say the least.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Last time we dined, Sarah put away 12 potatoes, an entire roast duck, and 4 different tarts. I'm not sure where any of it goes.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Have you seen the stories Varric's been writing?
Come
His
on.
descriptions of me are colourful, to say the least.
You must have some
We didn't
feelings
say a
about
different
our
one, then we'll
friends.
move on.
Don't play Diamondback with Solus. You've been warned. Taught him the game last night. He turned around and beat me at it. Lost everything. Had to walk back to my quarters with only a bucket for my bits.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Talked with Solus the other day. That man knows all there is to know about everything.
You must have some feelings about our friends.
Don't play Diamondback with Solus. You've been warned.
Oh, my bad, my bad. Right, okay, well we'll move on. So, who are you? Oh, Ironball.
Can I help you with anything?
I mean, not Ironball. Dupe. How can we use you? Seductive.
I'd like to know more about the Iron Bull.
The chief. First time I met him, he saved my life. I never thought I'd work for a Canary, but he grows on you. He's not like any commander I've ever worked for. That's for damn sure.
How's Iron Bull as a commander?
If you know what you're doing and hold up your end, he's easy. He doesn't accept any less. If he keeps us alive, he leads from the front, and if you've an idea that'll win the fight, he listens. I've seen bands whose captains had to prove they were swinging the biggest sword. Bull isn't like that. The charges might give him more lip than you'd expect, but every one of us would lay down our lives for the big ass.
How did a Tevinter soldier wind up in a Canary spy's mercenary company?
I wasn't a soldier at the time. I was in some trouble, trying to flee to Tevinter. A Tribune and his men caught me in a border town tavern. They meant to make an example of me. Bull killed them. Gave up his eye doing it. Patched me up and asked if I was looking for work. I've been putting up with his jokes ever since.
That's how he lost the eye.
Yes. The guards had me on the tavern floor when Bull came inside and yelled for them to stop. One of them saw trouble coming and figured he'd finish me off. The guard had a flare. Bull put himself between me and the blow. Big-horned idiot. Didn't even know me.
Is it strange to work for Kunari?
He hasn't tried to convert us to the Qun, if that's what you're asking. Bull's charges don't care who you light a candle for, so long as your shield stays up. If he hadn't told me he was Ben Hasroth, I'd have thought he'd left that life behind.
I didn't expect he'd tell you all that he was a spy.
Not the whole band, but those who've been around long enough to trust. He figures most of us would find out sooner or later, and it should come from him. Eyes to eye, he says. It's never messed up a job. He just writes letters back home. Lots of the boys write letters back home.
We'll talk later.
Okay, so we know a bit more about the Iron Bull.
See me kneel, for I walk only where you would bid me. Stand only in places you have blessed. Sing only the words you place in my throat.
And there's a very devout man. Okay, let's go inside and see who we can find to chat to in here. I think if I go straight ahead, Iron Bull's there.
So we have Tevinter.
Hi, Rick. I'll talk to you in a minute. No, go on, we may as well talk to you now.
I've read your Tale of the Champion, and I have a few questions.
That's a pretty common reaction. Go ahead.
In the book, you say that First Enchanter Orsino turned himself into a giant monster made of corpses. How? Why?
Do I look like an expert on magical weirdness to you? Well, I can't tell you how. For the why, all I can say is he was desperate.
There is no way Hawk really could have killed the Arishok. It would have started a war with the Qunari.
I was told later that the Qunari disavowed his actions. Apparently, the Arishok didn't get permission before he attacked Kirkwall, and the Qun didn't want another exalted march. When they finally sent a ship to haul the wrecked dreadnought away, they just said, "We will never speak of this again." As far as I can tell, that's the Qun's version of an apology.
Where are the rest of Hawk's associates now?
Meryl decided to look after the elves left homeless by the fighting. She's done a pretty good job of keeping them away from the mages and Templars, so far. I guess she has plenty of practice avoiding stupid human battles with her own Dalish clan. Fenris has kept himself busy, hunting down the Tevinter slavers who came south to prey on the refugees. I'm not sure exactly where he is at the moment. You can usually follow the trail of corpses, though. Isabella went back to the raiders. She's calling herself an admiral now. I don't know if she's actually in charge or just has a really big hat. Might be the same thing, honestly. Hawk's brother Carver is still in the free marches, helping the Kirkwall Guard keep order. Aveline is still guard captain. I'm pretty sure Kirkwall would fall into the sea if she quit her job. Need something?
Do I have questions about Hawk?
I've read your Tale of the Champion, and I have a few questions.
That's a pretty common reaction. Go ahead.
Never mind.
Carry on.
Need something?
I don't have any questions about Hawk.
Can I ask you something, Varric?
You want to talk about me? I'm flattered. Also inclined toward extravagant lies.
Are you from Ferelden? Or Ley?
Free marches, born and raised in Kirkwall. And despite whatever you've heard, no, Kirkwall's not that bad.
I'm not clear on your line of work. You're a merchant.
I'm a businessman. My family has a seat in the Dwarven Merchants Guild. Merchants buy and sell goods. Businessmen buy and sell stores. In my spare time, I manage a spy network, and occasionally, I write books.
If you've run a spy net, why is Leliana our spy master?
To be honest with you, she's just a better spy master. The truly great ones can keep their distance. They don't get attached to their people. Me, I always wind up babysitting my informants and worrying about their families. We're in better hands with her.
You're an author. What kind of books have you written?
I tried my hands at a few genres. My crime serials are my most popular. Hard in Hightown, guards breaking the rules to get things done. The Tale of the Champion is the most famous thing I've written, or infamous maybe. I started a romance serial once, Swords and Shields, but to be honest, I don't have a knack for romances. Most of my stories end in tragedy. Probably that says something unfortunate about me personally.
What sort of shops do you own?
Actually, we don't own shops. That was just an example. Mostly we invest in moneylenders. Auction houses, a few mercenary companies, a couple of smithies. I think we own half a beet plantation in Ravane somewhere. Most of that's my brother's doing. Bartrand had business sense. Not much tact, but loads of business sense.
How do you and Cassandra know each other?
You heard about the Kirkwall Chantry being destroyed? The guy responsible used to be a friend of mine. The Seeker had questions about that, And I had answers.
Where did you get that crossbow? I've never seen one like it.
Bianca? She's one of a kind. There's a hidden shop in Kirkwall called the Black Emporium. I found her in a barrel labeled swag. The owner sold her to me for a ham sandwich and a pair of yellow ruffled pants.
Who's she named for?
I can't tell you.
And the reason for that is?
Complicated. It's the one story I'll never tell. We just have to leave it at that.
Thanks, Ferry.
No problem. Need something?
The red lyrium we found at the temple seemed to upset you.
My brother Bertrand and I sort of discovered red lyrium during an expedition in the Deep Roads. We located an ancient thaig, so old it barely looked dwarven. There was this idol there made of it. Bertrand brought it back to the surface, and, well, everything's gone downhill from there.
So what is it? Just another kind of lyrium?
The red stuff is lyrium like a dragon is a lizard. It's not just a different color. It has a whole host of weirdness all its own. I've written to every mining cast house in Orzammar. No one's seen this stuff before or knows where it came from.
What makes it special?
Regular lyrium can mess you up pretty badly, but you have to ingest it for that to happen. Red lyrium messes with your mind when you're just near the stuff. You hear singing, get violent, paranoid, and then it does creepy shit. Makes things float, brings statues to life. It also turned Kirkwall's Knight Commander to lyrium. Everyone's been kept at least 100 paces from it since.
How did the red lyrium get in the Temple of Sacred Ashes?
I don't know. So as far as I knew, the only piece to make it to the surface was destroyed. And the location of the thaig it came from is a secret. Did someone find more of it in the Deep Roads? That's not a cheery thought.
I think that's enough on red lyrium.
Yeah, not really my favorite subject. Need something?
I want to know more about red lyrium.
I'll tell you what I can.
No. Okay.
I think...
Okay, so we've spoke to Varric about red lyrium, and we've got quests from that. Okay, well, let's go around here. Let's go talk to one of my favourite people. Hi.
What do you think that elf Sarah thinks of all this?
Chasing the Lord Seeker, I hear. Anyone who thinks they need Lord in front of the name, that's bad. Bet he's got a portrait taller than
I can't
his.
help it.
That's your
I've
first
got
thing
eyes,
to
don't
total
I?
loss. Fact.
You don't fit in the Inquisition. That's a bit mean.
Not too dirty.
Tell me about yourself.
What about me?
Your skill. Who taught you how to use a bow?
No one.
That seems unlikely.
What? I picked it up here and there. Mostly it just makes sense. It's not like that for you.
Oh, certainly. Not a day's effort for the naturally gifted like us.
Well, it's not like that. It takes work. A bit. Not like Cullen and his pets. I mean, you miss, then you don't. Is it that hard to see when it's wrong?
Is it an elf thing?
Most I know couldn't find an arrow sitting on it. Right. Maybe I just make it look easy in shite company. Fact still is, no teacher. Where would I find one in alleyways anyway?
How about the basics? Where are you from?
Ferelden?
I got that from the accent. Where in Ferelden?
All over? Okay, fine. Denerim for a bit. South, north, wherever I want.
There are no connections you want to mention at all?
Nope.
How very Kunari of you.
What?
Never mind.
Good, right?
You're not like most of the elves I've met.
Thanks, right? Or was that an insult? I suppose I could go barefoot and whine. Like that Solus, right? Never be as good as we were. Well, who's we? I'm just fine.
I think there's more to it than that. A few thousand years more.
Hey, someone wants to be angry about old debts, be angry. Be a terror that never lets an enemy forget. But if you're digging it up so you can wear it, that's just weird. I mean, the Dalish don't really know. They have stories, but that's all they are. It's all fancy dress, not history.
We'll talk later.
Weirdly insightful.
Chasing mages, that's a Templar's job. A big, armoured, pissed-off helm polisher. Not too late to go find some. Or stay home.
What do you think about the people who have gathered?
Which, the ones who do things, or the ones who give orders?
Solus.
What about Solus?
Solus? His head's crammed up 1,000 years ago.
Anything to say about Varric?
Varric? Too clever. Always saying something, but never saying it straight.
Thoughts about Cassandra?
Not as buttoned up as she plays, right? Tough, though. I'd stand behind her in front of anything.
What's your opinion of Vivienne?
She's a bitch, but she knows. She better.
Thoughts on Iron Bull?
He makes me wonder about things. I mean, what did their women look like? Woof.
Any thoughts about Warden Blackwall?
He's too good, right? Like to see him out of that uniform. Not like that.
What do you think about our spy master, ambassador, and commander?
Liliana is pretty in places. Swear I've seen her too. Or heard she used to play. But that'd be mad. Now Josephine, she's as good at humbling her kind as I am. Just with less mess. Knows her business if you have to have it. And coloured. I suppose if you want a jackboot, you get a big one so you can grow into it. Nice hair though.
We'll talk later.
Good, right? I'll be here.
1 second, let's
Something
just
on?
see one more thing. Tell me about your friends.
You apparently have a lot of friends. Tell me about your network.
It's not mine, right? I mean, it is, but it's also everyone. Everyone who wants to shove it to nobles who hide behind gold and silk. And hats, I guess.
Are you just about pranks and revenge, or is there more to it?
Well, it's a weave, right? I grease a ballroom, so a wyvern chasing Git has to hunt a spring. Strangely, handmaids leave his vault open. His heirlooms pay off someone else. Maybe clean streets in Kirkwall, so someone gets something else. Pish, pish, pish. A lot of people eventually get help or a laugh. Or maybe someone dead, if they deserve it.
I'm glad I met you before someone decided what I deserved.
You're no hateful ass so far. I'd just get you with a pie or something. Anyway, assassin's a bard's job, innit? No fun, that lot. They might plonk a noble, right? But only to raise another. Plus, I'm shite at singing.
Is Red Jenny real? Or was she always just you and your friends?
Dunno.
Don't you care?
Not if it works. I mean, red is scary because blood. And Jenny is Look, nobody fears the bunch of people who do random stuff. And besides, it's easy. Nobles want a bogeyman because they need to believe normal people can't get at them. Numbers, right? It don't have to be so complicated.
Doesn't this mean people think you're guilty of more than you actually do?
Suppose. Does it matter?
Shouldn't it?
Important people kill over imagined insults. I've made more than enough real ones, so no. I don't suppose it does.
We'll talk another time.
It's all good, isn't it?
Got the door again, Flissa. Don't know how it keeps breaking.
Oh, you know how clumsy soldiers are. Are you sure you won't stay for a drink?
Well, maybe just for a bit. Maker, I hope it's not me.
Yeah, that Bar's music is fantastic in this game.
At least we've got Inquisition troops out at Redcliffe now, giving those people some real...
We'll talk to Liliana next. She is just here, isn't she? I'm stuck. Where is she? Is she in this tent? Oh boy. No. This one. Hi, Liana.
Blessed are the peacekeepers,
Oh,
the
that's
champions of
yeah.
the just. Blessed are the righteous, the lights in the shadow. In their blood, the Maker's will is written. Is that what you want from us? Blood? To die so that your will is done? Is death your only blessing? You speak for Andraste, no?
Nope.
What does the Maker's prophet have to say about all of this? What's his game?
Don't ask me. I'm as baffled as you are.
Then we can only guess at what he wants. The Chantry teaches that the Maker abandoned us. He demands repentance for our sins. He demands it all. Our lives, our deaths. Justinia gave him everything she had, and he let her die.
Maybe you should be angry at the people who murdered her.
If the Maker doesn't intervene to save the best of his servants, what good is he? I used to believe I was chosen, just as some say you are. I thought I was fulfilling his purpose for me, working with the divine, helping people. But now she's dead. It was all for nothing. Serving the Maker meant nothing.
Maybe you have another purpose. I could help you find it.
No, this is my burden. I regret that I even let you see me like this. It was a moment of weakness. It won't happen again. Come. To work, then. We will speak later.
Yeah, well, Anna's taking it hard, isn't she? I mean, it's got to have been a while since the Divine was killed.
So it's true. Butler has stand on us. I hope my hunch was wrong.
You knew him well?
Not as well as I thought. Show me the reports.
Interesting development here. Let's have a look
There
at
were
this.
so many questions surrounding Faria's death. Did he think we wouldn't notice? He's killed Faria, one of my best agents, and knows where the others are. You know what must be done. Make it clean. Painless if you can. We were friends once.
It will be done.
I'm sorry you had to see that. Trust me. Everything I do is to protect our interests. Now, if you're happy, I have more work to do. Reports of fade rifts and demons keep coming. The people are terrified, and it's only getting worse. The only thing that will calm their fears now is the hope that someone out there can save them. You have to be that someone. No one else has any power over the rifts. Seal them. Your legend will spread, and Thedas will learn to trust the Inquisition.
Why do you want me to seek out the rebel mages? Why do you care?
I've known mages. Some of them were better people than me. And yet I'm free and they're not. It's not right.
They called you the left hand of the Divine.
That they did? What of it?
What is the point of an Inquisition?
Justinia would have started the Inquisition if the Divine Conclave failed to restore peace. She hoped that with enough support, we could challenge the very tenets of the Chantry. She wanted the Chantry to treat the mages fairly. But sometimes I wonder, why stop at mages? The Chantry has committed many injustices. If we're going to change it, why not change the whole thing? It's just a thought. None of this will be possible if we fail.
I'm sorry she didn't live to see the Inquisition.
So am I.
I could use the left hand of the Divine at my side out there.
Every agent out in the world is my eyes, my ears, my blade. Wherever my people are, I am also. Coming with you, leaving my post, would blind and bound me. Do you see?
Suppose.
What exactly does the left hand of the Divine do?
A Divine always has enemies, and Justinia had more than most. I protected her. I watched, had an ear to every door. I identified threats, and I dealt with them.
Why did Justinia have so many enemies?
There were many who felt she was unfit to be divine. She had a past, a worldly life. Unlike many, she wasn't given to the Chantry as a child. She chose it, and somehow that made her unworthy. And because they thought she was unworthy, they wished her harm.
It sounds like you did some unscrupulous things as the left hand.
Perhaps, but wouldn't you do anything to protect what you love?
I'd like to hear about Justinia. What was she like?
A friend. A mentor. Like me, she had secrets, made mistakes. It made her human. I think her followers responded to that.
Was there something more than friendship between you?
You're asking if we were lovers? Typical. I was devoted to her, therefore it must be romantic. Love is common. Love is simple. My bond with Justinia was something greater. She was a sister, a mother, a teacher. So to answer your question, yes, it was more than friendship.
Not the way I meant it, but you know.
How did you and Justinia meet?
I met her a long time ago, before she became divine. Before she was Justinia. When I met her, she was Mother Dorothea. I was at my lowest. Broken, lost. And she saved me. No, wait. She hates it when I say that. I saved myself. She just showed me it was possible.
We'll talk more later.
It seems Blackwall knows nothing about the disappearance of the Grey Wardens. It's a disappointment. I am, however, glad that he is with us, even if he was not what I expected. He seems to be a good man, and his experience will be an asset to the Inquisition. As for the other Wardens, I suppose we will have to keep looking.
Indeed.
Let's talk about you.
Me?
Bards tell tales. I bet you tell some good ones.
There are plenty of tales in the library. Perhaps you should look for them there.
What did you do before you worked for the Divine?
I was a bard, an Orlesian spy for many years. For a time I also served a small cloister in Lothering. After the Blight, the Divine called on me to oversee her personal network.
Can you teach me to be a bard?
Being a bard is so much more than being a spy. It involves a keen understanding of politics, the ebb and flow of influence, the great game. The bard's is an intricate dance where a smile can be sharper than any dagger. The best way to learn is to immerse yourself in it. Perhaps when this is all over, I'll teach you.
I should leave you to your work.
We can always talk later.
No.
I'm listening.
Investigate.
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies. It's unavoidable.
You have a history with the warden who ended the Blight, don't you?
I count him among my closest friends. I still write to him for advice when I can. He hasn't replied to my letters in some time. I try not to worry about it. He can take care of himself.
They say you spent some time in Lothering. Did you know the champion?
We spoke a few times. I seldom left the Chantry, and we never became more than casual acquaintances. I saw more of the Hawk twins. Bethany in particular. She would spend time in meditation at the Chantry, and she seemed to like my stories. The other one, the young man, he was a little surly.
Carver? That be?
You seem to know Josephine quite well.
I met her a long time ago, but we didn't become good friends until years later. After the Blight, in fact. I'd just returned to Val Rayo, and she welcomed me back by throwing a diplomatic ball. She was the Antivan ambassador at the time, you see. The ball was... alright. Too many politicians. At midnight, Josie and I left to find a real party. We've been friends ever since.
What do you consider a real party?
It's not a real party until someone's small clothes are pinned to a chantry board. And that's all I'm saying about it.
Oh my.
We can continue this conversation later.
You know where I am? Yes?
Anything I should know?
I've nothing to report at the moment.
Okay.
I'll leave you to your work.
So we spoke all we can with Liliana. Who's left?
Come to me, child, and I shall embrace you. In my arms lies eternity.
I'm all turned about right now. Don't know where I'm going. Yeah, here we are. Okay. So we got in the Chantry, I do believe. Spot to the land. Okay, we'll speak to people in the Chantry. There we go. Let's talk to Vivienne.
Yes?
Is there anything I can do to help your efforts at restoring the Circle?
After the Circles fell, their libraries were plundered by scavengers. 1,000 years of recorded knowledge in the hands of bandits. It makes me sick to think of it. I've received news that some tomes have been located, if you are interested in righting this wrong.
Okay.
I'll look into it for you.
If you can take care of this matter, the Circle would be in your debt.
But let's speak first.
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
If the Circle disbanded, how can you still belong to it?
The Circle is an idea, my dear. And an idea cannot be dissolved. Many of the first enchanters voted for rebellion, caring little that anything short of a unanimous decision would pit mage against mage. Rather than dissolving it, Grand Enchanter Fiona's vote split the circle in two. The rebels follow her, the loyalists follow me.
If you lead all the loyalists, why are you only first enchanter and not grand enchanter?
Grand enchanters are elected, and since there are no first enchanters besides myself, no vote can be held. I could name myself Grand Enchanter, but the title holds no meaning now. When the circles are restored, that will change.
What was it like to live in a circle?
My dear, your question is the root of all problems with mages.
Oh, Inquisition, yeah, okay.
I cannot tell you. Every circle was different. Their Templars were different, their politics unique. And every person within each tower had an experience of circle life unique to themselves. Some people suffered and some were content. Some were cruel, some compassionate, and some indifferent. The same is true of people everywhere, in all circumstances, whether they are mages or not.
True enough. Sorry about the interruption there.
So tell me about your personal experience with the circle.
I enjoyed life in the Montsimard Circle, my dear. It was an edifice devoted to knowledge and refinement. And mages need the company of other mages. No one else can truly understand the challenges we face, nor see the world as we do.
You must have been under constant supervision, being forced by Templars to live in the tower. Was that hard to endure?
My dear, I have a suite in the palace and a wing at my dear Duke Bastien's estate. I've never been forced to live anywhere. Most circles allowed mages to live away from the tower, either on their own or in service to the nobility. All that was required was permission from the first enchanter. Some circles were harsher in their restrictions. Kirkwall was the worst, but it was the exception. Most were quite permissive. Perhaps too permissive, in retrospect.
How did we come to this state with the circles in revolt?
A failure of perspective that infected circle leadership. Mages lived solely in a world of Templars and mages. They could not even imagine what was beyond the tower walls. Kirkwall gave the world a reason to remember its fear of magic. A mage killed hundreds with a snap of their fingers. Across Thedas, a new tangible fear of magic grew. Commoners and nobles alike called out to the Chantry for protection. But the malcontents in the towers thought nothing of this. They cared only for themselves and for their anger at the new Templar restrictions. When a mage attempted to assassinate Divine Justinia, again, the mages protested the investigation. The leadership chose to vote on independence based on the intolerable conditions imposed by the Templars, sparing no thought to the fact that magic was more feared in the aftermath of these attacks than it had been since Tevinter's day. So long as they had their freedom, they could care little for riots, angry mobs, or about pitting mages against each other.
Are you familiar with Grand Enchanter Fiona?
We've met. Before her horrendously ill-timed and selfish vote for independence, I thought her adequate at her job. In her dotage, she could not handle looking after the well-being of so many people. We would have done better to replace her years ago, to let her spend time gardening.
Did they have cause to rebel?
In the aftermath of their terrorist attacks? Was that really the most opportune time to break away? By all means protest abuses by the Templars. Just don't do it in a way that says mages support wholesale murder. By voting when they did, my colleagues all but declared war upon the ordinary people of Thedas. A war in which we are outnumbered 100 to 1.
I thought the fighting was only between mages and Templars. Why are mages fighting mages?
The vote for independence was carried by only a small margin, but Fiona chose to let the motion stand. Those who opposed a rash declaration of war against the entire free world had little choice. By breaking from the Chantry when they did, the rebels declared themselves in support of mass murder. Anyone who did not wish to support terrorism and the slaughter of innocents was forced to take arms against the rebels.
Christ. Hello, everything?
Yes?
Yeah, tell me about the circle.
I wanted to ask you about the Circle of Magi.
Of course. What do you wish to know?
You must have an opinion of the Templars after living so long in the Circle.
Having opinions about Templars, my dear, is exactly like having opinions about mages or Navarans or men. I have known some who were impossible to endure and some who were utterly charming. I have suffered insults at the hands of those in the armor, but no more than I endured from nobles or tradesmen in Val Royal. Personally, I have found the Templars a useful tool, skilled at keeping more unpleasant elements at bay.
Let's carry on talking
Yes?
to her. We've got lots to talk about. What about yourself?
I'd like to know more about you, Madame Vivienne.
Whatever would you like to know?
Your accent's not Orlesian. Where exactly are you from?
I am from the Circle, my dear. One's country of origin rarely matters there. But if you must know, I was born in Wycombe in the Free Marches. I was sent to the Ostwick Circle, but I transferred to Monsignor while still an apprentice.
I'm curious how a Circle mage winds up a courtier.
Nobody winds up at court, my dear. It takes a great deal of effort to arrive there. I caught the eye of Duke Bastien de Ghislaine, an advantageous connection that opened many doors. When the position of Enchanter to the Imperial Court became vacant, I was able to secure it.
You're married to the Duke de Ghislaine.
Of course not, my dear. Don't be ridiculous. Marriage is the business of alliance and inheritance.
Join me again
I'm
next time for some more Dragon Age Inquisitions. See you then.